this video, I'll be showing you how to swap head in Photoshop. In my last video, I showed you how to swap faces. That was a technique used if you are only particular about the facial feature, the resemblance. You don't care about things like the ears, the hairs, and other features. But for this one, in case you are particular about keeping everything like the hair, the ears, and other features of the subject, you would need to change the entire head rather than just the face. And so in this video, we would be changing this to this. So for this particular example, we'll be swapping this head with this one. Let's just say a situation where you want to just test out how you will look in a particular clothing. For this example now, this schoolboy will be moving his head to this image, so we'll see how it looks on this suit. Now, first things first, we're going to bring in the head. So we will not bring the entire image, we just need the head of this guy. So I'm going to duplicate this layer by pressing Ctrl J or right click on duplicate. Click on this properties panel here. If you don't find the properties panel in your own Photoshop, come to Windows and scroll down till you find properties. Just click on properties and it opens up. Now I'm going to scroll down, click on select subject, allow Photoshop load, and it gives this result that selected the subject, the entire boy. So I don't need the entire boy, like I said. I'm just going to refine this. Taking my lasso tool, I'm going to remove this excess from his neck. Anything out of his neckline, I don't really want that. Okay, to remove that, I held alternate on my keyboard with the polygon tool. That's to remove selection. But if you click on shift, if you hold shift on your keyboard, it turns to a plus sign. So that would add a selection to what you are doing. So with that, I'm just going to make a rough selection. This tutorial is not going to be about perfection. It just shows you how you do it. You can spend more time refining it to look as flawless as possible. So after selecting it, I'm just going to click on Ctrl J still to copy this selection. Now I have the selection of just this head. I'm going to move that into the main image. Now we have the head and we have the image here. I'm just going to name this new head. Remember, same thing for this original image. I'm going to duplicate it and turn off the original image. Now we have a duplication of our layer and the head. So as always, you have to position the new head right where it makes sense on the original head. Select the new head and reduce the opacity so we can see what lies underneath. At this point, just click on Ctrl T on your keyboard to transform. Let me increase the opacity so we see what I'm saying. If you click on Ctrl T and you just scale, normally it would press this image, and we don't want this. We want it to scale to proportion so that when we move this, it is moving according to proportion. And that's the essence of me holding shift. For some of our Photoshop, the recent Photoshop, you don't have to hold shift anymore. You just have to move. This is because if you look up here, there's this sign like a chain link here. It maintains the aspect ratio. So you see when I hold shift and I scale, you see that chain sign activates itself. But if I don't hold shift and I scale, it is not. And that's why it is pressing and stretching the image. So if you don't want to go to the stress of holding shift, you can just leave this thing turned on and then scale freely without holding shift. So I can reduce the opacity here and continue to position. I'll use the eyes and the eyebrows as reference. Then position this where the ears make sense. Like I said, this would not be 100% perfect, but you can spend more time making it look as realistic as possible. So I'm going to do it down to the point where it covers the previous head. But what I would not want is to be seeing the previous head on this new image. Now it's time to get rid of what we don't want. For this particular example, you don't need all this excess neck that is overlapping with the t-shirt. So I'm going to activate a mask for this particular head. Click on this icon down here. Now I will go to my brush tool. Right now the foreground color is white, the background color is black, so I'm going to swap it with this arrow here, or shortcut press X on your keyboard swaps between the foreground and background color. Just make sure the one in front, which is the foreground color, is black and the one in back is the opposite. Now can increase your brush size. Right click and just increase the size here. make sure the hardness as well is 0, and just paint slightly around where you don't want the neck to be. The mask would hide that part of the new head, and I think I'm going to even let go of most part of his neck because we already have a neck here. If you notice now, I deliberately chose 2 images with the opposite skin color to show you that this particular method works no matter what the skin colors are. Now, next thing we have to do is remove part of the formal image that is also showing. You can see the ears very obviously around here. So same thing, I'll turn on a mask for this guy. Okay, in this case, this guy owns the background we are using. We have a white background here. So if I use mask to hide it, it deletes that part. So I don't want that. We're going to remove the mask by pressing Ctrl Z. What we'll do this time is use our clone stamp. We're going to clone part of this background to cover up these ears. This time, remember we are selecting the original background, not the new head. Hold alternate and click on the white background space. And now just paint on these ears. Come to this side to check. Yeah, we have part of his ears here to sample from here with your clone stamp. Hold alternate and click around this white space. And then paint on it. You can see that I'm painting the place where I sampled is showing me, so it keeps on moving. Next step is to blend this thing, because obviously we can see that the white face on the darker skin is not making any sense. This is the most important part of this particular process. Now to do that, we have to make a selection of the head. So if I turn off this new head, okay, we have the old head here. We have a problem with this. We have already messed up part of it by using our clone stamp to fill it, and that was why I said we should always duplicate layer so we can have something to fall back on as our reference. Now I'm going to turn this one off and bring back the original image. Now from here I'm going to select the head. Click on select subject. Allow Photoshop to select the subject for us. And just like we did for the previous one, we don't need all this body. We only need the head. So go to select polygonal lasso tool and hold alternate to, you see it turns to a minus sign. So I'm going to select out this excess part and boom, we have just the head. Now I'm going to copy this head, Ctrl J. Now we have the head copied. So I'm going to put it on top of this place and I'm going to name it old head because we have our new head. It's just for identification. Now we have our new head here and we have our old head here. We want to blend them. You see now the ears and other parts we removed are back. It's because we have brought in the new head, the old head. I mean, if I turn it off, you see they are gone. So it's just for the purpose of blending. Now what we're going to do is select our new head. First of all, you need to know the name of the document you are working on. This particular document we are working on is head 1. The head 2 is the one we copied from, so we don't need that actually. You can turn it off, but it's nice to know the name of the document you're working on. Head 1. Now select on your new head, go down to image, adjustment, match color. Click on match color. Now we're going to come down here to this place, say source. Select the source. That's why I told you to know the name of the document you're working on. We're working on head 1, not head 2. Click on head 1 and we are down to the suits document. Now we want to select the layer of reference, the layer we want to blend the new color to. So we are going to select old head because remember we named it old head here. Select old head and then this is now the new layer of reference. And as soon as we do that, if I move this down, you can see that the skin color of our guy has changed. Look, if I change this layer now to let's say the new head, which is his head, it automatically makes the layer of reference as the new head and blends the color to it, and which will make no sense. If I use the background, that's the entire body, you can see it's giving it a blue shiny tint to match that of the suit and his pants. We don't want that. We want just the head, so old head. And you can see that it is taking the color and brightness and everything from the skin of the head. Now we can refine this because as you can see it's looking quite brighter, so we have to work on this. So first thing we have to do is work on the color intensity. If you move the slider up, you can see the color would increase, we take it down, you can see it's becoming less saturated and more saturated as you go. So just look for a point where it looks most realistic to you. And for me, I feel like at 115 is fine. Now for the luminance, it works on color brightness. So if I increase this, makes it brighter, and if I take it down, makes it darker. So you just play around with it and get to a point where, like I always say, it looks realistic to you. And I think this point is not so bad. Let's leave it at 75. Now for the fade, it's like the opacity of this effect. It reduces the intensity, or should I say the opacity of this effect. So at 0, we can completely see the luminance and the color intensity of this our effect. But if I take it up, it removes it completely. It's like we are turning the opacity down to 0, so it does not reveal the effect. So you can use this fade to kind of find the point where it all makes sense. And I think this fade will do a great deal at 15. Not to overdo things, we just leave it like that. I'm just going to bring this in to the screen. So if I turn off preview, you can see the before and after of this whole thing. Now I'm going to click on OK. If you agree with me, we now have a skin tone that looks very similar to what we had before from this man. So we don't need his old head anymore. So I'm going to bring it down, focus on this. It's now time for balancing both color and contrast. First thing we'll do is work on the contrast. So I'm going to go to my adjustment layer, clicking on curves. You can see a new curves adjustment layer is here. So whatever I do, when I play around with this, it affects the entire image. This is because this curves layer is on top of every other layer. To make this affect only the head, which we intend, we have to clip this layer to this one. So to do that, you could either hold alternate on your keyboard and hover in between this curve and the new head, and you see an arrow here that shows that once you click on it, it indicates that this layer is now clipped to this layer alone. So whatever I do here affects only the head. Another way to make this happen is on the curves adjustment layer itself. You can come down here. As soon as you click on this icon, it activates a clip mask here. Now we are going to play with the contrast. I'm just going to play around with the highs and lows to give me a contrasty look around here. Remember, don't overkill this. Just get it to the point where it looks most realistic. And one last adjustment we'll bring in is the hue and saturation adjustment. This would help us tone down the color or the saturation better. We can see that this face is looking more saturated than the skin. Compared with the hands and the neck, you would see that. Same thing, turn on the clip mask here. So it clips everything to this layer and we'll reduce the saturation just a bit. You can see as we're reducing the saturation, it's beginning to make sense, unlike when it was very much saturated. So we'll just find the point where it makes most sense. So I think 13 is giving me the best look possible. Now we can also work on the lightness, makes it lighter or darker. And I think 5 is looking good, -5 I mean. You agree with me that it all makes sense now. Like I said, we could always make this look better. So let me try and give us before and after of this whole thing. Before and after. If this video was useful to you, please like, follow and share, and I'll see you in the next post.